This is Sunday Focus, a weekly public affairs program that looks at the topics affecting our society and the people who are making a change in the community each and every day. The people who have vision for the next generation. Sunday Focus presents new challenges for us, keeping you informed with topics of local and regional interest. Now the host of Sunday Focus, Christine Manica.
Good morning. Coming up on the program today, I'll sit down with Sioux Falls Mayor TenHaken to talk about the Sioux 52 Mentoring Initiative. The Sioux 52 Mentoring Initiative is the newest way to help improve somebody's quality of life throughout the Sioux Falls area. By 2026, 5,200 new mentors will change someone's life for the better. With the help of the 211 Helpline Center, mentors will be paired with someone who is experiencing some sort of struggle, what path to take in life, how to live in a single-parent home, and so on. The Sioux Falls Mayor TenHaken sits down with me to talk about the goals and purpose of the Sioux 52 Mentoring Initiative. Plus, the mayor and I will also discuss some new happenings in the city, along with some ideas for the future. If you would like to find out more information about the Sioux 52 Initiative, you can visit sioux52.org to find out ways that you can be a mentor or if you need to be mentored. That's all coming up and more on Sunday Focus. I am joined by a very special guest, Mayor TenHaken from the city of Sioux Falls. How are you, Mayor?
Hey, good morning. I'm great.
There's a lot to talk about, but the main reason why you're here today is to talk about the Sioux 52 Initiative. There's a whole lot to go into that. So in the simplest way possible, just kind of break it down. What is this movement?
Sure. So first off, the name Sioux 52, where that kind of comes from is, you notice it's not Sioux Falls. It's really implies like Sioux Empire Regional. It's a regional mentorship initiative. Mm-hmm. So Sioux meaning all of us, 52 meaning there's 52 weeks in a year. And we're doing a large mentorship push to get 5,200 new mentors by 2026 who will give 1 hour a week, 52 weeks a year to change someone's life. So in short, where this idea really generated from is it'll be 2 years in May that I've been the mayor. And I've really spent the last 18 months just kind of listening and trying to figure out what are the biggest challenges in our city and where can we unite to have the deepest impact in the city. And when you look at whether it's crime or juvenile recidivism or felons coming out of jail who are trying to get reacclimated into society, there's a common thread through all of that in that people need a mentor. People need someone to walk alongside them and show them that they're cared for, answer questions for them, help them with job interviews, help kids of diverse backgrounds in the school system get acclimated to their new life here. And the need is so great that we kind of decided, how can we as the city work together to not create a new program, but just connect all the people in our city with really the thousands of openings we have and needs we have for mentors right now. The needs are great. This community is really giving. We just need to raise the dialogue and let people know there are so many opportunities for mentors in our city that we need people to get involved. That kind of birthed the initiative and thus the launch of Sioux 52 earlier last month.
So many questions running through my head. Let me start off with this one. For the mentors, who are they mentoring? What is the demographic that you're targeting? Yeah.
So here's the thing about mentoring. A lot of times when you say mentoring, your mind immediately goes to like school, grade school kids, mentoring a third grader and having lunch with them. And that's needed. But we also need mentors for high school kids. We also need mentors for, as I mentioned, people coming out of jail who they've maybe been incarcerated for 3, 4, 5 years. And now they're trying to figure out, how do I get housing? How do I get my driver's license back? How do I apply for a job now that I got a felony on my resume? What sort of places can I apply? How do they do life? Who helps them with that? We have immigrant families that are opening businesses that need to know, how does social media work in the U.S.? How do I file my sales taxes with, the Secretary of State? All these things that people need help with. So when you ask who's the target is anyone. I mentored a 62-year-old homeless guy for about 2.5 years. And this was 3 or 4 years ago. I mentored this guy. We had a random interaction at a gas station, decided to give him a ride. That birthed our relationship. For the next 2.5 years, I mentored him, helped him get a job, helped him get a place to stay. Turned out he was a poet, helped him get his book of poetry published through a Kickstarter campaign. He was certainly a project, but he had turned his life around. He ended up passing away unexpectedly on me. And it really was a driver for me when I got into office to reflect on that relationship with Kent and realize there are Kents, his name was Kent, there are Kents all over this city that need mentors, that need people just to let them know they're loved, they're seen, they're appreciated, and we want to help them be the best version of themselves they can be. And so that's a long answer to say the target is anyone, is really anyone who needs a mentor and needs someone to do life with.
After your relationship with Kent, would you say that was the initial drive and force to create Sioux 52?
Well, partially is when you campaign. So when I'm campaigning as a candidate, you think you know what the problems are in the city. You're like, okay, when I get in office, I'm going to fix this and this and this because these are the problems. Then once you actually get into office and you sit in the chair, you see a whole different set of problems. And I do this thing every first Friday of every month. I have open office hours. People can sign up for 15-minute blocks of time with me, talk about whatever they want. And I hear all kinds of things from people. And the common thread in a lot of that is there's often a narcotics challenge in a lot of the challenges people experience. There's a lot of single-parent home challenges that exist in our city. And there's a lot of diversity opportunities, I'll call them, with our diverse community trying to establish themselves as residents of our community. So in just dealing with these and seeing these over time and then knowing how Kent struggled to find his lane in Sioux Falls, I said, man, and I don't want to sound braggadocious here, but me coming alongside Kent was really transformational for him. He was down and out. We really got him in an apartment, helped get him some income, gave him purpose again. And so that was really a big impetus, along with all these Friday conversations that I have with people on really focusing on the impact that mentorship can have.
All right, so kind of run down with me really quick before we get into what it takes to be a mentor, how people can volunteer. What is a timeline that you're thinking of with Sioux 52?
So from a timeline perspective, we set a goal. It's a pretty ambitious goal, but I'd like to see a net increase of 5,200 new mentors by 2026. So in the next 6 years, we'd like to see a net increase of 5,200 mentors. There are probably, between all the programs, 1,000 kids in the school district right now, through different programs and different needs, who are in need of a mentor right now. They're on a list. They're waiting. And I need, right now, if 1,000 people stepped up today, we'd fill them all. My goal by 2026 is to flip that script, where we have 1,000 people saying, I'm willing to mentor, but we don't have anyone who needs you right now, because we're a city of mentors. People are just hungry and ready to pour into someone. So it'd be a really cool story to say, man, we flipped that around in our city. So the time commitment can be as little or as much as you want to put into a mentorship relationship. And we'll talk about that in a minute, about, what's the commitment from people? How do they get involved? What sort of skills do they need to have? But really, mentorship is a marathon game. So when you look at the impact you may have in someone's life as a mentor, we can't go at the end of 2020 and say, okay, because of mentoring, our juvenile incarceration rates went down and our drug rates dropped by this. It's like those are long. You're investing in, let's say, youth in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade now, so that when they're 17, 18, 19, they have a more stable foundation because someone was pouring into them for the last decade.
All right. If you're just joining us, Mayor Paul TenHaken from the city of Sioux Falls, I got to ask, you were mentioning there are already kids on the list that want to mentor. Can you describe what the needs of those kids or anyone that's on that list?
So with the youth specifically, the Sioux Falls School District identifies kids based on a variety of criteria that the teacher or the social worker or a counselor may say that child would benefit from a mentor. It may be a struggle they're having. It may be something they know about their home life that has flagged them to say this child or that child would benefit from having a mentor. They then share that, have that list on record, and they share it with organizations like Lutheran Social Services, with places like Teammates, a new mentorship program. So these aren't just random kids that say, hey, you could use a mentor. These have been identified by our school district and by our teachers and educators to say, Tommy or Jimmy or Maria, they really could use a solid male role model, a female role model in their life right now based on these circumstances that they know exist in their life. Dad maybe went to jail and Jimmy's struggling because he's in a single parent home now without a father figure. Okay, that may be something that the teacher says that child would really benefit from a weekly touch point with a male who just wants to pour into this child. So there's hundreds of those kids within our school system right now that are waiting for that match to occur.
What about for any mentor that doesn't necessarily want to work with kids? What about the adults? What can you say about the adults in this?
So here's what's great about the Sioux 52 program is it's not, I shouldn't even call it a program. We're calling it an initiative because it's not a program. Mm-hmm. What we encourage people to do is you can call the 211 Helpline Center. Let's say you're listening today and you're like, you know what? I can give some time to mentoring. I mean, I don't have money. I don't have a fancy car, but I got a couple hours a week. I can certainly pour into someone. If you call 211, they will ask a series of questions. They'll be like, all right, how old are you? Do you like kids? Do you don't like kids? Are you comfortable with felons? Do you want to be part of a faith-based program? How much time a week do you have? Based on those questions, they'll say, okay, Paul, you're 42 years old, you're a male, you got about 2 hours a week, and you have a heart for working with felons. Well, here's 3 organizations that would love to have someone like you, and then they connect you with those organizations. So right now, we're basically just helping people get connected with the organizations that already exist, that fit their skill set, that fit their desires, that fit with how they want to give back to their community. Because our community is program rich. We have a ton of great mentorship programs. So when we first talked about the Sioux 52 initiative, I think people were thinking, oh great, the mayor's launching another mentorship. We got a ton of them already. It's not a program. We're just using the bully pulpit of the mayor's office to say, I need to get, A and B connected because I have 200,000 people. I have several thousand people waiting for mentors. How can I get them to connect?
All right. So tell me about how this mentorship works. First of all, what do you have to do to be a mentor?
So each organization, whether that's, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, or whether that's community outreach, whether that's places like Collision or LSS or Teammates, there's so many mentorship programs. When you get connected with one of those programs, they each have their own kind of intake process, if you will. So they will walk you through and say, okay, as part of being an LSS mentor, for instance, with the youth, your commitment is 1 hour a week, go into the school, spending time with a kid. You got to pass a background check. You got to fill out a form that LSS administers. If you get hooked up with a different organization, then we say, okay, here's how we do it. We have an intake form. Here's how our background check works. Here's our commitment. And so it's really specific to the individual organization on what the requirement is, what the need is, what the intake is. And that often depends on the population that you're serving and that you're mentoring. Some are more intensive than others. I'll say some mentorships, oddly enough, I just came from coffee this morning with a young guy I'm mentoring. He's 23 years old. He's getting his first job out of college. He's got a girl that he's been dating for a while and trying to figure out, okay, is she the one? And he's just got a lot of questions about life. I'm not going through a formal program. I'm just walking alongside this guy to help him, through some of these critical decisions. I think back to when I was 23. So some of the programs are formal, but also some of them are just casual occurrences that happen with people. And we want to say, that's what we need more of in our city. We need more people to say, willing to extend a hand, or as I often say, send the elevator back down to bring someone else back up with you.
Who are you looking for in a mentor? What are the qualities?
The biggest quality is really someone who has a heart to help people. You don't need a specific income level. You don't need a certain degree. You don't need a certain job. That's what's so great about mentoring, is if you have a heart to pour into someone and help someone, you will be a good mentor. And so you may be more comfortable with certain demographics and you know, whether it's kids or whether it's, you know, people coming out of jail or whether it's immigrant families or whatever. But that's why mentorship can be so powerful. And statistically, there's all kinds of data out there through the National Mentoring Partnership and others that shows youth who are mentored are, and I won't share the exact percentages because I don't have them, but they're more likely to enroll in college. They're less likely to encounter teenage pregnancies. They're more likely to be involved in extracurricular activities. They're more likely to be involved in leadership programs within their schools. So there's data that shows when you mentor youth specifically, they are more likely to be leaders in their schools, to have lower drug use rates, you know, lower incarceration rates. And same with felons and people who return from jail and are in our society. They're less likely to reoffend. They're less likely to, go back to jail if they have a mentor within a certain amount of time period after their release. So that's why this stuff has an impact on the community as well.
All right, Mayor Paul TenHaken of the city of Sioux Falls. This is going to sound like a cliche question for you, but why now? You've already said in May, this is going to be your second year in office. But besides that, why bring Sioux 52 to Sioux Falls?
Well, why now is the first nearly 2 years of office, you got to just spend a lot of time listening. A lot of people think they know what the challenges of the city are, myself included, when I took office. And so a phrase I use a lot with my team is, seek first to understand, then to be understood. If you go guns a-blazing right away and say, this is the need in our city, I know it, let's go, let's rock and roll. People are like, have you even talked to these organizations? Have you even talked to LSS, Paul? Have you even talked to the school district about this? And so I've spent a lot of time doing that, and it kept coming back to, this is a need in our city. This is a need I can justify. I also feel like the One Sioux Falls initiative that we've started, it's a framework, it's a brand, it's really a message of unification within our city. The time is right to tell people, hey, if you want a better Sioux Falls, it starts with each of you individually as well. And I go and speak to a lot of groups and service clubs and churches and whatnot. And typically when I'm done, one of the first questions people ask is like, Paul, we love Sioux Falls. What can we do to give back to our community? How can we help our community? And I've always had to say, well, just, keep doing good things and pay your taxes and, just vanilla answers. I want to have something to leave with them and say, here's what you can do. You can be a mentor. If there's one thing I can ask of you today, be a mentor for someone in our city. And so now we have something that we can rally around as a community. So that's why now is really the right time to be doing this.
Thinking about your last 2 years in office almost, you've had the flooding, you've had the tornadoes, you've seen the city come together. Coming from a bigger city myself, I've never seen anything like it, just having a whole bunch of community members coming together for one purpose. Is that your hope with Sioux 52, that the community responds the same way they did with that March flooding and the September tornadoes?
Yeah, that's a great point. And we're, in the next couple of years are going to be north of 200,000 in Sioux Falls. With our population, we'll be knocking close to 300,000 in the MSA, in the next 3 or 4 years. So we are a big community. But when something happens and a need is presented and people are presented with an opportunity to serve their community, this all of a sudden becomes this small town where people want to help their neighbor, they want to get involved, they want to make a better Sioux Falls. And I feel like this initiative has the potential to do that, to say this is a neighbor helping neighbor type of thing, that we're still blessed enough to be of a size where we can have a significant impact with something like mentoring. So yeah, I've seen this. I also see it every year when we do our United Way fund drives. United Way fund drive in this city, we are the second highest percentage participation United Way effort in the country, behind, I don't know, some city in Florida. So people nationally look at Sioux Falls and say, how do you do this? Well, we give money. Okay. I want to have this be almost the United Way of time. It's like, I want to give time. I need people to give time and step up to give time. Okay. It's easy to check the box on your paycheck and say, I want to give, a couple bucks every pay period to United Way. And we need that. But I also need you to check some time and say, I'm going to give a couple hours every month or every week to my time as well. So time, talent, and treasure, those are the three things that you're often asked to give. Your time your skills, and your money and your treasure. We're very good at the treasure in Sioux Falls.
Right.
We're very good with the skills. I need some more time, and this is a way for people to do that.
All right. So how can people get involved? Where do they go? A website, a phone number to call, anything?
The two easiest ways to get involved in the Sioux 52 initiative are first by calling the 211 helpline center. That's as simple as dialing 211. You call 211 and you say, I heard about the Sioux 52 initiative. I want to learn more about mentoring. They'll take it from there. They'll start asking questions. They'll figure out, what your hopes are, what sort of programs you're interested in, and they'll align you with something from there. You can also go to Sioux52.org. That's Sioux 52. So not spelled out 52, but the number 52.org. And you can sign up there. There's a couple forms. If you want to be a mentor, if you want to be mentored, and also if you're a business and you want your business to commit to this effort. That's the other thing we're asking is, I'm asking businesses to say, hey, Joe's Plumbing, would you be willing to be a Sioux 52 partner? And all we mean by that is, would you be willing to be a mentor-friendly business that says we encourage mentoring of our employees? We give them some schedule flexibility if they have to go meet with their mentor, during the day, or they need to take a call from their mentor, or so there's no official sign-up form. We're not going to hold you. There's no accountability to it or anything. But we just want businesses to say, yeah, we're ready to be a mentor-friendly business, and we're ready to commit to that and encourage that amongst our employees. And then we have some resources we can give that business on how you get your employees jacked about mentoring. And so there's also a sign-up form on Sioux52.org where a business can say, yeah, we want to be a Sioux 52 friendly business.
You bring up a good point with the businesses. Does this include for the mentoree, I'll call it, is this a good way for, if they're in high school per se, for them to kind of network with a business to maybe even find a potential career with them in the future somewhere down the road?
Absolutely. So in my instance, like I said, I'm mentoring this young man right now who's just coming out of college. I tell you what, if I had an opening that fit his skill set, I wouldn't look anywhere else because, got to know this young guy. He's a great dude. He's got a great heart. And so there's obviously a workforce development connection there as well, if people want to take that route. So yeah, that's I think a side benefit, an intangible benefit of mentoring if you're mentoring the right person. And sometimes these some of our best workforce is some of our most overlooked workforce. And that's our people that are coming out of jail and who want to work. And I talk to a lot of felons who say, Paul, I can't work there because I'm a felon. I can't work there. I can't get housing because I'm a felon. And I was talking to a guy in my church on Sunday who owns a cabinet company. He's like, listen, if they'll show up on time and work, I'll hire felons all day. And so he's like, if you get more, you send them to me. Well, that would be a great organization to connect a mentorship with, a mentorship program, because that's a workforce development tool now for him. If they'd be willing to start mentor some of these felons and these guys coming out of the pen so that they could teach them a skill, get them into their workforce, and get them on a path towards rehabilitation, becoming productive members of our society versus getting them back into the situation that maybe got them to where they were in the first place. All
right. So if you want to get involved with Sioux 52, you can visit Sioux 52. That's 52.org, or you can also call the 211 Helpline Center for more information. Now, Mayor, before you go, we have to talk about some things that are happening around the city as well. And I would be remorse if I didn't ask, when is Dunkin Donuts coming?
Oh, Dunkin Donuts. Listen, the only business I get asked about probably more than Dunkin Donuts is Chick-fil-A. And I've told people, I said, listen, if Chick-fil-A comes during my time as mayor, I don't even have to rerun for office. I'll automatically get reelected because people, every school I go to, I got to meet with some kids today for lunch. They're going to ask me about Chick-fil-A. Dunkin Donuts, Chick-fil-A's, Chipotle's, those type of places, they look at the market conditions. They say, hey, can we be successful here? Do we have a successful franchisee that's willing to open in this market? I'm sure we're on their radar. They haven't reached out to the mayor's office yet, but nearly every franchise in the country has their eyeballs on Sioux Falls because at our growth rate, and honestly, we love our food in Sioux Falls. We got more restaurants per capita than a lot of cities.
Oh my gosh, I feel like everywhere I go, it's like a new restaurant.
Yeah. So So we're working on a Dunkin'. I will also say we got some great local coffee and donut places too. I'm always a shop local guy.
Absolutely.
The local franchisees and the Flyboys and the Scooters franchisees. But I'll work on it for you, and I'll promise you if it comes, you will get invited to the ribbon cutting.
That would be awesome. Can I cut the ribbon?
You can maybe help cut the ribbon for sure.
Because Chipotle's already checked marked.
Chipotle's coming. Yeah, they're coming this year.
That's one thing off my check mark list. Then another thing, since being from Chicago, St. Patrick's Day is a big holiday for the Chicago area. And my dad has always wanted me to ask you this question. Can you dye the water green?
Oh, can and should are probably two different things. Can we? Yes. Should we? I don't know. The Friends of the Big Sioux River, who is a great organization that works really hard in our river cleanliness and river quality, even though it's pure dye, I think people in Sioux Falls may not be ready for that. But instead of a green river, we do have a great St. Patty's Day parade. So be sure to come out for the great St. Patty's Day parade. I'll help paint the shamrock, read a proclamation. You never know what St. Patty's Day is going to be like here. It's either going to be 65 and beautiful, or sleet, snow, and 20 degrees and miserable. So we typically don't get anywhere in between. So we'll see. I'm praying for the former.
All right. What else are you excited for before your second year is approaching? It's coming up pretty quick. So what else is happening?
Real nerdy stuff, but I feel we've made some great strides in public safety in the last year. We got an incredible police department and fire department that we're going to be building a new fire station on the east side. We had a record number of methamphetamine seizures this year. We're getting a lot more of that poison off the streets. We started a new narcotics crimes unit that's helped tremendously with that. So I really feel we're making some strong strides in public safety in our community. I'm also just really excited about the arts in our city. There's kind of an arts renaissance happening with whether it's Arc of Dreams or Sculpture Walk or the Levitt or some of this program we're getting at the Pavilion. State Theater is going to be opening this year. There's a lot of excitement around the arts. I'm an arts guy. The economic impact of the arts is incredible to our city. And so it's a fun time to be in Sioux Falls in terms of things to do, quality of life, investments in the arts, because there's just a lot of momentum there.
I agree in that Arc of Dreams. You don't see that anywhere else here along the Dakotas. And I bring my family there every time now to come see it with Mackenzie River. They love Mackenzie River.
Yeah, you and me both. That's my go-to lunch spot, actually. So
it's the number one place I have to take people when they come visit me. All right, so besides Sioux52.org, if people want to get a hold of you and talk to them about concerns they have or even the questions they might have, how can they contact you?
Yeah, easy. I'm probably one of the most accessible mayors the city has ever had. I'm active on Facebook. I'm active on Twitter. I'm active on Instagram. So if you're into those, you can always tag me and shout at me there, and I'm pretty good at getting back to people. If you're not a social media wonk, 367-8800 is the mayor's office. And like I said, first Friday of every month, I take appointments with people if they want to meet and talk about an issue. So that's kind of a standing offer. And then mayor@siouxfalls.org is my email. If anybody ever wants to, tell me great job, that's where you can send an email. If you don't, that's the wrong email to use. So, but lots of ways to reach me. So,
all right, awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
A smash and grab. Keyed vehicle, tagged property, slashed tires, graffiti, acts of vandalism frustrate, anger, even frighten you and your neighbors. Because vandalism can happen quickly, day or night, it's hard to know who's causing the trouble. That's where you can help. By keeping an eye out, by recognizing things that look out of the ordinary, and by reporting suspicious activity.
To get involved without getting involved, call Crime Stoppers to report vandalism crimes completely anonymously. Once a tip is received, it's researched and acted on by local law enforcement in hopes to solve and apprehend the guilty. If your tip leads to a crime being solved, you could be entitled to a reward.
Your tip could help make the difference in catching vandals, reducing vandalism, and preventing heartache and trouble of potential victims in your neighborhood. If you can help, call Crime Stoppers or use their P3 Tips app. Recognize, report, completely anonymous. Crime Stoppers of the Sioux Empire.
I'm Christine Manica, and you've been listening to Sunday Focus. I'd like to thank the Sioux Falls Mayor, Paul TenHaken, for joining me today to discuss the Sioux 52 Mentoring Initiative. Once again, this is the newest way to help improve someone's quality of life throughout Sioux Falls. If you are looking to be a mentor, or if you need to be mentored, you can visit Sioux52.org. Again, that is Sioux52.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Sunday Focus.
Sunday Focus is a public affairs program of Results Radio Town Square Media, Sioux Falls.